They wanted me invisible, but they forgot one thing: even shadows can strike back. My name is Samantha Sam Hayes, and for as long as I can remember, I existed in the margins. In high school, I was the quiet girl in the back of the classroom, the one teachers forgot to call on, the one classmates overlooked. In the workplace, I was the assistant everyone assumed would stay in her cubicle, taking notes while others took credit. And yet, somewhere beneath the calm exterior, a fire was quietly building. The person who stoked it most was Vanessa Cole, charming, commanding, and terrifyingly persuasive. Vanessa was everything I was not: loud, confident, and magnetic. People followed her lead instinctively. Where I whispered, she roared. Where I hesitated, she conquered. And she had a talent for making it clear that I didn't matter. We worked together at Meridian Media, a fast-growing marketing firm where reputation was currency. Vanessa was the golden girl, winning clients, charming executives, taking center stage at every pitch. I was her assistant, her sounding board, and, unbeknownst to her colleagues, the architect behind many of her winning ideas. She smiled, she charmed, she took credit, and the world believed her brilliance was all her own. At first, I thought I could survive it by being invisible. Blend in. Stay quiet. Avoid attention. But survival quickly morphed into resentment as I watched her laugh at my ideas in meetings, subtly belittling me, planting doubts in everyone's minds about my contributions. Even our closest coworkers began to dismiss me, echoing her sentiments without realizing they were complicit. Meridian Media was a jungle, sleek and shiny on the surface, but cutthroat underneath. Everyone was hungry for the next promotion, the next high-profile campaign, the next opportunity to be seen. And in that world, Vanessa was a predator, and I had been her prey. Yet, the irony was that she underestimated me. She assumed that my quiet compliance meant weakness, that my silence was surrender. She had no idea how carefully I had been observing, how I had been cataloging every slight, every lie, every stolen idea. Every laugh that cut me down, every subtle erasure from client emails, every manipulation to make me seem incompetent, I remembered it all. That's when the first spark of reckoning began to form. Because shadows may seem powerless, but they are patient. Shadows wait. And one day, shadows step into the light, and when they do, they cast the darkest reflection. And Vanessa, she wouldn't see me coming. The first sign that something was wrong wasn't dramatic, it was subtle. A glance, a whisper, a smile that didn't reach Vanessa's eyes. At Meridian Media, I had learned to watch carefully, but even I almost missed the small cracks at first. Meetings were the worst. I would pitch ideas I had spent hours perfecting, only to hear Vanessa rephrase them seconds later, her tone casual, confident, charming. The executives nodded, impressed, giving her credit as if my words had never existed. I forced a polite smile, pretending it didn't sting, while a quiet unease grew inside me. Then came the favoritism. Vanessa's errors were forgiven with a shrug or a laugh. My small missteps, even minor oversights, were magnified, discussed in hushed tones by the team. She thrived in the spotlight while I was pushed further into the margins, a ghost in my own workplace. The subtle lies were worse. A colleague would say, "I thought Vanessa told you about the client update," only for me to realize she hadn't. Or a project timeline would change overnight, and suddenly I looked disorganized for missing information I never received. Each incident alone could be dismissed, but together, a pattern began to emerge, a carefully constructed web to keep me off balance, to make me doubt myself. Even casual conversations became traps. At lunch, Vanessa would joke about my meticulous but unnecessary attention to detail, laughter ringing in the air. Others joined in, and I felt eyes on me, judging. It was never cruel enough to call out, never blatant enough to challenge, but every word etched into me, reminding me of my supposed insignificance. The emotional toll was heavy. Nights were sleepless, filled with anxiety over emails, meetings, and presentations. My confidence wavered. My stomach knotted when I heard her laughter echoing down the hall. I questioned myself constantly. Was I imagining things? Overreacting? Too sensitive? Then came the moment that left me unsettled beyond repair. I stayed late one evening, reorganizing files for the next day's pitch, when I noticed a folder on Vanessa's desk, not her usual neat stack, but one slightly ajar. Curious, I peeked without thinking. Inside were copies of my slides, marked up in her handwriting. Comments like, "We need to make her ideas sound like mine," were scrawled in bold, certain letters. My pulse quickened. Every small doubt, every uneasy feeling, every whisper of suspicion suddenly crystallized into terrifying clarity. This wasn't accidental. This wasn't minor office rivalry. She was actively working to erase my contributions, to take everything I had built and claim it as her own. I stepped back into the shadowed hallway, chest tight, fingers trembling. Vanessa's laugh floated toward me, carefree, unaware. And I realized, what I had feared was true, she wasn't just undermining me. She was planning my erasure. The question burned in my mind, unrelenting: how far will she go before she's satisfied? And more importantly, how far will I go to stop her? The client pitch was supposed to be my moment. Months of preparation, late nights, and meticulous research had led to this opportunity, to finally be seen, to finally prove that I wasn't invisible. Every chart, every strategy, every persuasive argument I had crafted with care was ready to shine. Then Vanessa walked onto the stage. It wasn't just that she was there, it was that she claimed everything I had built as her own. Every slide, every talking point, every recommendation I had drafted with painstaking effort was displayed behind her as though it were her genius. Executives leaned forward, impressed. Clients nodded. Applause rang out. And my chest tightened with disbelief. I froze. The room spun around me. Shock, anger, and heartbreak collided in a dizzying storm. I had known she was manipulative, that she undermined me in small ways, but this? This was monumental. My work, my reputation, was being stolen in front of everyone, and no one, not one single person, questioned it. When the CEO spoke, his words cut through the haze. Vanessa, your leadership on this project has been remarkable. We're promoting you to lead strategist. My stomach dropped. Lead strategist, the very role I had sacrificed so much for, was handed to the woman who had spent years erasing me. It wasn't just professional betrayal. It was a personal betrayal, a calculated campaign to humiliate me and claim my efforts as hers. Every sleepless night, every late-night email, every bit of blood, sweat, and tears, I had built this foundation, and she had taken it from me. And the cruelest part? Everyone believed her. The smiles, the congratulations, the pats on the back, they weren't for me. They were for the woman who had made me invisible. I left the conference room, my hands trembling, heart hammering in my chest. The tears I had held back finally came, sharp and bitter, blurring my vision. Anger roared beneath the surface, matched only by the raw, hollow ache of disbelief. How could someone be so calculating, so fearless, so willing to destroy another person for personal gain? Back at my apartment, I replayed every small warning I had ignored, every moment I had brushed off as coincidence. The files on her desk, the whispers, the casual undermining, it all pointed here. She had planned this, meticulously, ensuring that the world saw only what she wanted them to see. I sank onto the couch, staring at the ceiling, chest tight, mind racing. And in the silence, a single thought emerged, clear and terrifying: this isn't over. She had tried to erase me, humiliate me, and claim my life as her own. But something had shifted. Something inside me had changed. The question lingered in the air, heavy and electric. How far would I go to make sure she pays for every stolen moment, every laugh at my expense, every attempt to keep me invisible? The moment of despair was over. What came next would define me. For 2 days, I wandered through my apartment like a ghost, haunted by the weight of Vanessa's betrayal. Every corner reminded me of the humiliation, every notification on my phone a reminder of my erased efforts. I couldn't sleep, my mind replayed the pitch again and again, each detail sharpening the edge of my anger. Then it happened, a single, quiet discovery that shifted everything. I returned to the office late one evening under the pretense of retrieving some old files. The building was empty, corridors echoing my footsteps. When I passed Vanessa's office, the door was slightly open. Curiosity, mingled with dread, pulled me closer. Inside, I saw her laptop open, my past presentations displayed for her review. She was typing notes, murmuring to herself, "Make it look like it was mine. No one can trace it back." My heart froze. There it was, in black and white, my work, my ideas, stolen deliberately and manipulated to make her look brilliant. I realized then that Vanessa's betrayal wasn't random or petty, it was strategic. She had been building a narrative to erase me entirely, to convince everyone that I didn't exist in her shadow. And if she had been willing to do this once, how far would she go next? Something inside me shifted. Anger turned into clarity. Hurt turned into resolve. I understood that despair wouldn't help me. Rage alone wasn't enough. If I wanted justice, I needed a plan. A method. Patience. Precision. The next morning, I began small. I started documenting everything: files, emails, timestamps, screenshots. Every stolen idea, every whispered manipulation, every instance of favoritism, I cataloged it meticulously. Then I reached out quietly to colleagues I could trust, Laura in graphics and Anton in analytics, people who had noticed the discrepancies but had stayed silent. They didn't offer pity, they offered facts. Witnesses. Allies. I also began training myself to remain calm under pressure. I practiced speaking clearly, presenting evidence without emotion, maintaining the composure Vanessa never expected from me. Every interaction became preparation, every meeting an opportunity to observe, to learn, to strengthen my position. By the end of the week, I sat at my kitchen counter, a blank document open before me. I typed a single word as the cursor blinked: plan. For the first time in months, I felt control again. I wasn't the invisible girl anymore. I wasn't the one who shrank in the corner, silenced by fear and mockery. I was someone who had endured, who had calculated, who had learned that patience was the deadliest weapon. And as I pressed my palm against the page, I whispered to myself, this ends. Not because they pity me, not because I beg for justice, but because I will make the truth unavoidable. They wanted me invisible, but soon, they will see me. And when they do, they will regret every moment they tried to erase me. The shadow that had once concealed me now hid my power. And I was ready to step into the light. Revenge, I decided, wouldn't be a tantrum. It would be a campaign: research, resources, timing, and people who could stand one step behind the truth. After that night in Vanessa's office, I stopped reacting and started building. Step 1: collect the receipts. I pulled every draft from my hard drive, dug through autosaves, and recovered email headers that proved authorship. Metadata doesn't lie: creation dates, edit histories, version notes. I printed copies, labeled them, and saved encrypted backups to 3 separate drives. Every coincidence now lived as paper and timestamp, impossible to dismiss as hearsay. Step 2: secure allies. Laura in graphics and Anton in analytics were careful at first, afraid of being branded troublemakers. But when I showed them side-by-side slides, their expressions changed from caution to resolve. Quietly, they contributed: screenshots, saved chats, even a voice memo where Vanessa laughed about making the narrative. We kept everything low profile. No group texts. No public accusations, only facts recorded and witnessed. Step 3: legal perimeter and plausible escalation. I consulted a compliance attorney under a professional guise, hypotheticals first, then specifics. He confirmed what I'd suspected: some of Vanessa's moves weren't just unethical, they were potentially punishable. We opened a discreet HR channel and filed a formal, calm complaint. Paper trails matter, hysteria doesn't. I made sure every step left a documented breadcrumb. Step 4. Shape the exposure so it couldn't be gaslit away. Public humiliation meant nothing if it could be spun as bitterness. So I built a dossier that was surgical: side-by-side comparisons, emails with headers, witness statements signed and dated, and audio clips that captured her own admissions. I encrypted the file, duplicated it off-site, and labeled a master copy release, if necessary. Then I lined up an outside trigger, a respected industry reporter known for breaking corporate scandals, someone who wouldn't bait the story for clicks but who could publish the dossier in a way that journalists and regulators would take seriously. Step 5. Design the stage. Vanessa thrived on spectacle. She loved the gala nights, the award ceremonies, the moments when cameras fed her image back to the room. The firm's annual client showcase, cameras, executives, investors, was the perfect stage. I coordinated with Julia in AV, a quiet friend I'd earned through late-night troubleshooting, asked her to be ready with a clean switch, and told Anton to be near the tech desk with copies of the dossier. Everything had contingencies: backups, legal counsel on call, the reporter en route, and my allies planted in the seats. All the while, Vanessa strutted through the office like a queen, untroubled, her laugh echoing down the halls. She had no idea that every slipped smile, every staged joke, and every stolen slide had been catalogued into evidence that could not be ignored. That confidence made her vulnerable. The night before the showcase I sat alone, the dossier heavy in my lap. My phone vibrated, a single text from the reporter: "We're on standby. You ready?" I exhaled, closed the laptop, and slid one encrypted drive into my bag. Outside, the hotel marquee blinked: "Annual Client Showcase, tomorrow." I locked the door, walked to my car, and for a moment let the city lights blur. Then I opened my bag, rested my hand over the small plastic switch Julia had given me, a harmless little thing, really, disguised as an AV key, and heard my own heartbeat loud as a drum. Someone in the room laughed, warm and unbothered: Vanessa, exactly where she wanted to be. I pressed my thumb to the switch. My finger hovered. And then I stepped into the night. The gala hall shimmered with chandeliers, applause, and the soft hum of conversation. Vanessa floated through the room like she owned it, radiant in designer heels, laughter trailing behind her. Cameras flashed, executives nodded, and the clients she had seduced with charm nodded along to her every word. Everything about the evening screamed victory, for her. I stayed in the shadows, dossier in hand, nerves tight but controlled. Julia sat poised in the AV booth, fingers ready. Anton was near the projection console with backup drives. Every ally, every precaution, every hour of careful planning came down to this moment. Vanessa took the stage to accept the Innovator of the Year award. She grinned, poised, oblivious to the storm about to hit. Then the screen behind her flickered. Her slides appeared as expected, but a second column emerged, one she hadn't prepared: my work. Drafts, email headers, time-stamped documents, and her private memos boasting about manipulating my ideas filled the screen. Gasps rippled through the audience. I stepped forward, voice calm but unwavering: "What you're seeing is the truth. Every chart, every proposal, every concept you've praised as Vanessa's work was created, drafted, and executed by me." The audio played, Vanessa's own voice admitting she had rebranded my work, her laughter echoing as she described erasing my contributions. Screens displayed side-by-side comparisons of my original slides and her final presentation. Executives froze, clients whispered, and cameras pivoted. Vanessa's smile faltered. Her confidence wavered as the room processed the evidence. The CEO, caught mid-clap, froze. Compliance officers approached the stage. "This behavior violates company ethics and constitutes misrepresentation," one said quietly but firmly. "Effective immediately, Ms. Cole is suspended pending a full investigation." Security gently guided her off the stage. Cameras caught every falter, every strained smile, every desperate attempt to maintain composure. Social media exploded. Industry reporters published side-by-side images, email screenshots, and timestamps. Fraud allegations rock media gala, Golden Girl exposed for stolen work. They wanted Samantha invisible, now she commands the spotlight. Her empire of charm, stolen ideas, and manipulation collapsed in real time. Contracts were frozen. Clients questioned past deals. Investors demanded audits. Every move she had made to make me invisible was now the instrument of her ruin. And I stood in the center of the room, dossier in hand, exhaling for the first time in months. The applause I received was quiet but sincere, acknowledgement of truth restored. The girl who had been laughed at, mocked, and erased now stood unshakable. Vanessa had tried to erase me, but she had underestimated patience, strategy, and proof. The spotlight was mine. Every stolen moment, every sneer, every attempt to render me invisible had been turned into a weapon that illuminated the truth. I looked out at the stunned audience and realized, survival had been only the first step. Victory had arrived, and it was undeniable. Her crown had fallen, and the girl she tried to hide was standing taller than anyone in the room. The morning after the gala, the world woke to headlines that made Vanessa's empire crumble. Golden Girl exposed for fraud, industry star suspended for stolen work. They wanted Samantha invisible, now she commands the spotlight. Social media feeds buzzed with screenshots, email proofs, and commentary. Her carefully curated image lay in ruins, and the clients, executives, and investors who had once fawned over her now questioned every deal, every project, every achievement. Her suspension quickly became a full investigation. Contracts were paused, client relationships scrutinized, and auditors pored over the work she had taken as her own. Every maneuver she had used to erase me was now part of a growing trail of evidence, undeniable and public. Vanessa's world, shiny, polished, untouchable, was dissolving before her eyes. I, on the other hand, walked into the office for the first time without fear. Colleagues stopped me in the hall to offer congratulations, apologies, and quiet words of admiration. Where I had once been invisible, I was now seen. Where I had once been doubted, I was now respected, not just for the work I had done, but for the resilience and intelligence that had allowed me to reclaim what was mine. The CEO called me into his office. His tone was measured but sincere. "Samantha, we failed to recognize your contributions. That changes today. I want you to lead the next major campaign. Your work, your vision, and your leadership." I nodded, a quiet smile forming. Victory didn't need to be loud, it was in the restoration of my voice, the recognition of my efforts, and the undeniable power of truth. Weeks later, Vanessa became a cautionary tale. Social media threads dissected her arrogance. Industry forums debated her missteps. Invitations she once cherished went unanswered. Her laughter, which had once silenced me, was gone, replaced by the hollow echo of a reputation destroyed. One evening, I passed the cafe where she had once mocked me. I paused, letting the city lights reflect in the window. The girl who had been laughed at, dismissed, and erased was gone. In her place stood a woman who had endured, outsmarted, and risen above it all. Poetic justice is quiet, patient, and precise. It doesn't roar, it waits for the perfect stage. And when it arrives, it leaves no doubt. Vanessa had tried to make me invisible, and now she lived in my shadow, powerless to challenge my light. To you, watching this story unfold, have you ever been betrayed, humiliated, or erased by someone who thought you couldn't fight back? Share your story in the comments. Let others know they're not alone. And if witnessing this journey from invisibility to triumph gave you chills, hit subscribe. More stories of resilience, justice, and ultimate victory are coming, stories where the underdog rises, and those who laughed, cry. Remember this, they wanted you invisible. One day, they will watch as you take the spotlight, and there's nothing they can do to stop it.